Hello and welcome back for a look at Profida's claim administration. Please keep in mind this is a high-level view. We'll just sort of briefly glance at various settings and setups so that you've got a basic idea how claims in Profida work. So claims are integrated tightly with the policy, and we always check before allowing basically cover to be claimed against the active cover, against also the claim rules. There are early claim warnings which you can specify as of which date or how many days before you want it. Out of the box we warn within a date range of 14 days, but you can obviously stretch this and say certain covers you can put 30 days on or 180 days or whatever, and so there's a policy kind of a product global, and then one can fine-tune these warnings according to specific coverages, because certain coverages might actually have this have different days. So also our document management and workflow engine is tightly integrated with that. Accounting is also available on the claim level. We're going to look at these kind of things in a moment. So let's jump right in and have a look at the claim. We're going to capture together a quick claim after I introduced you to how it looks and where the claims are located. So here we are on a policy. This one, for example, is a short-term policy. We're going to look at the motor claim, and then later we're going to look at a medical gap claim. But the dedicated sessions which are available for the relevant medical gap, short-term, marine legal, and so on, they will also cover more details about these processes in more detail than actually this session does. Right, so claims. So here we basically see the cover. We see here's here are our two vehicles, and then we can actually go to the claim here. And here's already our claim. Is a bit an older one, but it's not yet been processed completely, though the payment has been authorized, as we can see here. We have also a quick glance how old the policy is and some stats about it. So let's zoom into the claim. So here we have then the details on the right hand side. We see a brief summary about the claim. Our estimates are controlled automatically depending on the progress of your payment. So as things are paid, estimates automatically naturally go down, and eventually they'll usually be at zero, but it depends really on what's happening on the claim. So here we also see that an assessor has been appointed on this claim. And here, this is Terry is our claims handler, and our activities and workflow is happening here. Right. Further details about the claim we see as we go on, like incident, place, description of the incident, how verbose you want to do this is completely up to you, and obviously depends also on the claim form. At further down here we see then the attachments, what's all attached, like claim form, a damage photo, and by just basically clicking on this we then can preview these kind of things straight away, and there's no limitation how many you can put on. You can also label them accordingly and so on. So here we see then all the claimable cover at the incident date of this claim, and the yellow highlighted cover, so that's basically this one here, and this is the same. It's just sort of we create a summary at the top, and then underneath this line we basically list then all the available ones, and above that line is basically everything the same cover, but just sort of as a glance what has all been claimed on here. Right, so and to actually create another claim, or for example also claim the car sound equipment, we basically would click here on claim, and then starts then the process of claiming this cover. We have then some accounting records on here, which always have a unique identifier, like kind of a reference. So we have these here, where we see we have here a claim from a cover, and we have done this already. It was authorized and also paid a while ago. We have then here an access. These things are color coded so that, for example, here we know the red one is outstanding, overdue, was actually supposed to be paid in 2018, so that's really heavily overdue. And then here, so we would also obviously get reminders and can check this up on production. Usually this does not happen unless it's intended. And then here, the pink record is, or violet record is, basically we have we have an agreed amount, but we have a quoted amount, but we have not yet agreed to actually that payment, or kind of for excess makes probably not much sense to do it that way, but yeah, that has just been done in this example. So that gives you a little bit an overview of these kind of things. We can also zoom in to the actual accounting record here and see what has been paid, when has it been paid. We see some more details then about it, and this everything is hyperlinked. So if we need to quickly jump into the section, we can just click here, or that's the actual cover. And which the section obviously might have multiple items, so this takes us then straight into the item. And here this one is the transacting party. Clicking there takes us straight into this transacting party. We can see all the phone details and email details and so on. So everything is basically easily accessible. Same with the bank account. You can also quickly go there and check that out if you need further details. Yeah, so the claim is quite a compact compact design, yet it's very powerful. There's a lot of features packed into it, so you can do actually quite a comprehensive workflow with it as well. So the status claims are driven by different statuses. So here on this one, I see it's not too exciting. Sometimes we have actually here maybe 20 different changes, forwards and backwards and so on. So here basically it started with where payment, yeah, I think this did not start completely, so we started somewhere here in the middle, and probably have deleted some of the older statuses from cleaning up point of view. Obviously in production this can't be cleaned up, and then here basically, yeah, we basically, the status was probably, I think we did a new start here, and for demonstration purposes, yeah, sometimes we reset this forwards and backwards due to demonstrations. And then here we went to payment authorized, and from payment authorized we opened it again. So it's going forwards and backwards. That's not really a very good situation for production. So if you see something like that while authorizing or before authorizing a claim, you would obviously then wonder yourself what's actually going on this, and use extra caution. Right, so further activities, like here we have a phone call logged where Regina inquired here that we're still waiting for the claim form, and then it basically then here a day later finally she got it then, and got all the docs to process the claim now. So date-driven notes, phone calls, emails, all these kind of things, they go onto that claim assessor instruction here. Usually that's generated automatically as you appoint the assessor on the claim. Profida generates a summary for the assessor, sends it automatically to them. Obviously there's setup, you can also switch it off if you don't want to, and if you don't work with assessors, you can just disable the assessment facility, and then that will not be there. It will basically be hidden. Right, so I think that should give you a good overview of sort of a bit the structure on the claim. There's quite a lot of additional things once the claim is sort of like in this situation, payment authorized, certain things can't be changed anymore, then special requests to authorize certain things can be done. You can also create custom reports and things, what you need on that claim. And then obviously there are the relevant claim bordereaux and stats available, which we're going to go into the next session then, where we look at reports and bordereaux and so on. Right, so from here, let me switch over to Regina, who's a different user. So I'm gonna use her here. So I changed the colors a bit to green so that we can see I'm working here with a different login, but obviously one can anyway see it also here. So what we want to do now on this policy, it's a very simple gap policy, so there's also much more complex and comprehensive ones available in a setup, which we gonna look in a gap section then. But this one kind of is quite a straightforward setup. But yeah, I think it's okay for demonstration. So we then go here to the claims, and we don't have yet any claim on this 6-year-old policy. So we click here new claim to basically create a new claim, and then Profida gives us the statuses automatically, which makes sense at this point in time. They have numbers in brackets, which means how deep we are and how progress we are towards the end and closing of the claim. So you can see repudiated obviously is a high number because that's kind of towards the end. So all like settled and repudiated and not taken up is an early number, because that happens usually early in the process. Okay, but yeah, we're happy now with open, and let's quickly put in here an incident date and time. Let's say it was yesterday, and let's say it was also registered yesterday. And probably at the same time. Let's do it at the same time because it was a hospital situation, was maybe phoned from the hospital. And here let's have a claim cause, and then we can say here the incident place. Let's skip this because it was sickness, and then a description of the incident. So let's say we have basically this procedure required, and we can then save the claim. So now that's the frame of the claim. So now Profida determines what cover is available on the policy. It finds, also automatically creates relevant attachments and communication as and when set up. So like here we see the claim form has been created. It's not yet obviously there because we first need to receive it, and as we receive it we can then click here on add file, and that way attach it. We also see here an outstanding document count, where we know that we still need actually documents before we can send this for authorization. We have then here the cover, and as mentioned, this is a very simplistic setup. So we have only two basically covers we can claim from. So let's claim here from this hospitalization cover. The topic, let's just these topics, you can actually structure these yourself. It's for reporting and grouping and filtering of your claim accounting records, to sort of make a structure on the reports as it fits you. Because there's a personal policy with multiple insureds, we need to say who is actually affected by this. And so now we here we can leave this blank, or we can put the same one in. So let's put it in like that. And although yeah, we don't need the default settings here is that it is going to be paid to the insured, because the insured is going to pay the hospital. But we can also deviate from that and actually say, hold on, we actually got to pay the hospital directly, and then we also don't need that here, because we obviously have then that as the transacting party who's going to get the money. And they sent us already an invoice number, and which we can then punch in here. And the invoice date was from today, and we plan to pay this on Friday. And Now the amount was 5,123.11. So now we can either split this into amount or VAT, or we can just put the total on. Actually, we don't negotiate with them, so we can just put this into the agreed one, and then Profida is going to fill in the rest of all the details. It found already the bank account of the Durban Rural Hospital as it's one of our vendors in our vendor database, and only if I've got permission to adjust bank accounts, then I get actually this blue button. Otherwise, bank accounts are usually locked away for users who have that permission to actually create these. And in addition, bank accounts can also be part of an authorization process, which means that no bank account which is unauthorized can then actually be used. So now we actually created here our first booking. It's green because we scheduled it for the future. So I can now actually ask as the claims handler here to just quickly see something. Yeah, maybe something worthwhile also. If there are other policies where Regina, actually Anne in this case, is insured, then these are listed here. So we then can actually see, yes, we maybe want to check these out because there might be other cover which is relevant to be paid. I mean, not maybe in this particular situation, but it depends. For example, especially on long-term cover, sometimes people have two policies where death cover is payable or disability cover, and under various circumstances maybe. Right. So now let's edit this claim and basically request authorization. So we're skipping a few steps here now, and we then sent this off for authorization. I think I had switched this off, that I can actually bypass this, but usually in production you wouldn't be able to bypass this. It would first warn you that you actually need to get that outstanding document. And now if I'm going back to myself, then here I get now usually an email with sent as Regina requested that authorization. I would have gotten an email. That email states that this claim needs authorization with a few checks, steps I should check. And once I basically receive the email, I can click on the email, which takes me straight on to this claim then, and basically then here, which takes me then straight into that claim on here, which Regina just captured. We just navigate through the interface now on it. You can also get various lists, like if you want to work with a queue on a queue basis, where these authorization requests queue up and people pop it off the queue. That's also an option. Right, so now I basically see it also on the color of the claim. We use often color coding of certain things. I can now check, and here we also see that has been requested by Regina. And yeah, I'll basically now verify that this is all in order here, and if I'm actually happy, then I can now authorize this claim. So for example, payment authorized. And there are also for short term, for example, different statuses like your payers authorized and all sorts of things. So depending on the type of claim and depending on the type of product, you get slightly different variations of these statuses. Now that the payment is basically, I authorize the payments on this claim. Now Regina gets back an email and says this claim has been authorized, payments have been authorized on this claim. You can actually now proceed. So that does not mean that you can actually make payments, because every single payment still needs to be authorized on its own once it actually is there and ready for authorization. So she can actually now go to hold on, let's go back here, and so she can now go and basically see now that this one has been adjusted. She's also, as mentioned, getting an email. She can now zoom in further if she can now proceed with certain other things, or maybe the client would have gotten, the insured would have gotten an SMS or an email that the claim has been authorized now. And now we can actually focus on authorizing also and paying bookings. So here we've got the queue for authorization button, and everything is all right, and then we can actually send this off, and then this one has now been sent. The same process follows there. These can now be different users to the ones authorizing the claim, because these ones are now the payments. But the payments have, if you do them from within Profida and send them straight from Profida to the bank, then there's an additional, there's a multi-level authorization after that coming. But first the payment has to be authorized, which is the booking basically in this claim booking in this case, and then Profida collects the payments for the day, and before you can send this off to the bank, this needs to be authorized as well. So that batch basically needs to be authorized as well. So there's various steps, but as you can see, it's quite easy to do it, and also yeah, quite straightforward. Right, so back to, so I would have gotten, or whoever has the permission, got basically now the email with the relevant, or and so I can now zoom in here and then basically see that this needs to be authorized. I can then reject the authorization and put a note on and say, hold on, no, this is not going to happen because of these problems. Or I can say, yes, it's fine, I authorized this. Then my credentials go down here, and this is now basically an authorized booking, which now Regina can actually go on her side and color changes, and she can now basically pay this or arrange for payment. We have also a way where sometimes you might pay things outside of Profida if you don't use Profida's built-in payment center, maybe in the beginning or for testing. Then one can also settle this manually by doing it that way. That depends on the setup. So now this is basically a completely settled booking, and we can see Profida now generated also here a payment confirmation email to the client. Could also be an SMS. Right, so this is a little bit just very brief, very high level. It's not meant to be a training, it's all meant to be just a bit an overview of how these processes work, just to give you a little bit an idea. So we have there are far more things. We have multiple authorization levels with amounts and built-in fraud preventions and warnings, and minimum and maximum claimable thresholds. Then also time periods or total sum insureds which can be paid out for a certain policy. And then there's also an extendable vendor database where you have then all the settings of the vendor, and only certain users with the relevant permission can actually edit and maintain that vendor database. Therefore, the vendors can be used on a claim sites by the normal claim handlers, but they can't actually then modify the vendors and, for example, put their own bank account on. There's all sorts of custom reports and emails and SMSs which can be set up. A little bit I showed you already today about this, and our reporting usually happens via Bordereau, either manual, ad hoc, or automated. And the claims has also a business intelligence integration with ClickView, MS Power, Microsoft Power BI, and Google Analytics, which you can use to further analyze your claims. Great, so thank you for watching, and I hope you like our claims facility, and see you in the next session.